Chapter 13. When Piper arrived home, there were a score of pickup trucks, SUVs, Humvees, and cars outside her home. Men surrounded the Prius, pulling up to the house, banging and screaming at the driver to stop. The elderly Asian man nearly had a heart attack trying his best to turn around and escape with his life. Piper quickly slipped out of the car, screaming, "It's a fucking Uber!" The crowd settled down, feeling silly as the terrified Korean-American man screeched away, never having faced so many white-hooded men with guns and weapons in his life, believing racism was fake, a boogeyman black people made up to excuse all their failures. The Uber driver drove in shock and was forced to stop a few houses away to regain his composure, calling his wife and children frantically, calling everyone who knew who would listen to his horror, calling the police. Piper marched up to the house, having to cross the entire yard, being escorted by the army of men, some wearing hoods, some wearing combat gear. Others are adorned in swastikas and Proud Point insignias. And her father sat on the porch drinking a cold beer, smiling as his daughter came home. "Hey there, pumpkin pudding." Her father greeted her warmly in front of her boys. "Hey, Adolf." Piper crossed her arms over her chest. "Where is he?" Douglas snapped. "Who?" Piper played dumb. "I was at the museum with my friends." "The man on the phone," Douglas interjected, stomping up. "You did all this because you heard my friend's brother? Are you that insecure? He didn't like how you were talking to me or calling me. He felt concerned, like you were some possessive, abusive psycho." "Oh, wait." Piper rolled her eyes. "Your mother says she saw him raping you, and I heard him on the phone talking to me," Douglas retorted, enraged. "My mother hasn't told me or talked to me about anything, and Jabari hasn't done anything to me at all." "You told these people who raped me? He hasn't harmed me at all." "So you were with him," Scott sighed, rubbing his temples. "I said I was with a friend," Piper yells. "You're lying," Douglas grinned. "Why lie, Piper? Are you kidding me? Look at all this commotion. What were you going to do to him?" "And I did not lie about anything. I was with my friend, and they're scared for me because my fiancé calls, cursing and yelling at me, and that's not too loving. Now, I came home to an army of white hoods for what? Because I don't want to be with you, Douglas? Is it not hard to believe a woman want to be with someone who acts like this for getting stood up for a supper date?" Piper storms off inside the house. "You told him he raped her." Scott sucked his teeth, wondering why all these men were at his house with their trucks on his fresh-cut lawn. "Well, your wife called me saying he harmed your daughter and kidnapped her. She told me every detail about how they had sex yesterday. Then she told me I needed to kill him." Douglas recalled the truth. "So you know this marriage isn't going to happen, right?" Scott sat up as police cruisers blocked off the exit to his home. What the hell is going on here? The drunk men cheered, greeting the police as brothers. The squad cars piled up, forming a line of cover as the officers ducked behind their vehicles. Scott gulped. "Fix that real quick." Scott gulped, rushing from his porch as a large man with a thick Indian accent began bellowing for everyone to drop their guns and put their hands in the air. Scott gulped, rushing from his porch as a large man with an Indian accent began bellowing for everyone to drop their guns and put their hands in the air. Scott raised his hands, trotting up as the drunk men started cursing and shouting, withdrawing their hospitality replaced with acerbic slurs and shooting threats. Calm down, Scott shouts. "Put your fucking hands up and shut the fuck up." Scott panted, bracing himself on his knees as he caught his breath. "Sir," the large Gujarati officer met with Scott. "Police Sergeant Narav Mehta. A man called reporting a group of hooded men with guns stomping his car, kidnapping his passenger while threatening to kill him." What? Scott rubbed his temples, looking back at his men. "All of you are under arrest and must be taken into custody for questioning. All will open fire without prejudice. Sergeant Meta spoke. It was absolute. Whoa, buddy, let's defuse this really quick, brother. You're one of us. You want a beer? Scott raised his hands, moving out of the line of fire if things went awry. I'm the homeowner. My daughter was missing, so we went out to look for her, but she turned up. And we thought the kidnapper dropped her off, but it was a cab driver. Where is your daughter to confirm this story? The sergeant asks. She's inside, but she's distraught. You see, she had been with her friend the entire time, and her fiancé thought she was cheating. So you're going to kill the man. Why not call the cops? The sergeant had zero sympathies, motioning behind him for the police to load their weapons and prepare for a fight. Get your daughter out here in 1 minute, or we're going to start arresting everyone. And if these men resist, we won't. Piper! Someone go get me Piper! Get her quick! Scott shouted out, trying to amend things. Sergeant Meta and Scott were solemn as no one reacted to his commands. They ignored Scott outright for attempting to negotiate peace with the brown cop. There had already been a long time following with Scott's leadership. The marriage to Douglas was to replace him with a new leader, to pass on the torch and recreate the golden era of the clan. Yet, as a history scholar, Scott did his best to teach cultural pride and to steer wayward souls to the right side of history by proving their superiority, not relying on skin color. But most of these armed men in hoods would have nothing without being white. Their skin color and penis were all they had, and they would kill anyone threatening it. Piper hid away in her mother's prayer room, locking the closet door from the inside. She tried to call Jabari. She didn't know why she was calling him, but it was all she could do to cope with her anxiety. Too many men were in and around her house to relax or smoke alone. People were screaming for her, ripping doors open and looking for her. Piper whispered as best she could and strained as he could to hear Piper. You have to come to get me. I'm so scared, Piper cries, murmuring into the phone, wiping snot and tears from her face. There's so many drunk men wearing hoods. They were going to kill you. I can try to find a way out and use my neighbor's address to call her right out. So it is your house with all the cop cars and Klansmen, all over my fresh cut lawn. Jabari ticked his tongue, pulling up with his Lincoln Continental staking out the house. You're here? They will kill you, Piper cries out, her heart racing. I didn't come alone. You called the cops? Never that, Jabari laughed, breaking the tension. Don't worry about me. It looks like the cops of the clan are about to have a shootout. Where are you? Maybe I can get to you and we can get away. That's one idea. Where's your neighbor's house? Across the backyard, there's a trail from our neighbor's yard in the side street. I saw it on my mower. I'm pulling around now. I want to get away before the bullets start flying. Jabari cruised past the street, riding up the road, being directed by the police officers to detour from the war zone. You followed my Uber? They show you the trail when you call the ride. I didn't feel right sending you to face your father alone. Jabari explained why he used his phone for the ride. I'm on my way. I need to stop by my room. Piper? Mom? Piper hit her phone. Who are you talking to in here? I was talking to God. Piper hid her phone behind her back. What are you holding, sweetie? Helen asked, worried. Nothing, Mom. Piper shuffled towards the door. I can't explain, honey. Helen held her chest. Please explain, Piper said, genuinely confused. I have a hunger, sweetie. A hunger I can't sate, and I try so hard to hate these people. I do, but I want them so badly. I want it. So this is what I do. I pray the jungle fever away, but God, I can knock it over it. I need it, Piper, I need it. Piper raises her phone, her face etched with confusion. Helen shattered to pieces right before her daughter, stammering, embarrassed, and vulnerable in her sanctuary. What the fuck are you talking about, Helen? Piper threw her hands in the air. I have, no idea right now what is going on. And I just want to freak out. So you really did it with Mr. Bob? Oh, my poor baby, I'm so sorry. Helen hugs Piper as Piper begins crying. Both drop to the ground as the shooting begins, deafening booms and explosions as the clan unloaded their clips. The police hid behind their cars, allowing their enemy to exhaust their rounds. As the volley slowed, Naraf gave his order to return fire, ripping through the sheeted men and then moving on to the rest. Red sheets littered the ground as men began fleeing without cover or even tall grass to conceal themselves. A week ago, the property looked like a proper battlefield. The manicured cut grass gave no concealment for their rifles. While they attempted to reload and return fire, they stood little chance. More squad cars arrived with the SWAT, FBI, and CIA, and the police descended onto the Klansmen, fleeing for cover as they awaited the National Guard. Helen held on to her daughter for dear life, crashing to awareness of the danger she brought to Piper. I have to go. Piper fought through her tears, gripping her mother. Helen feared the idea of being alone if either the cops or the boys returned to the house. She hadn't any idea Scott was bleeding to death in the front yard. Helen feared what would happen to her in prison, or being the only woman left alone in a room of horny men after a battle. Take me, please. Helen pleads. I can't do that. Piper shook her head. Is it the gardener? Helen asks. Yes, fucking yes, I fucked the landscaper. Piper shouts, yes, I loved it. He's hung like a horse. I saw everything from the window. You really started all this shit? Do you even understand the last time I had sex? I don't know. It's been forever. I finally find a guy who's attracted to me and you try to kill him? Piper fumed. No, Douglas did all that. I can't handle my feelings of watching my daughter have sex with a black man. Helen confesses. Why were you watching us? I wasn't watching you. I was watching the gardener. I imagined myself there. Helen explained with her fingers. That doesn't sound better. I thought you hated black men. Piper shook her head, unable to understand. Helen sighs, walking to her cupboard and pulling out the foot-long, veiny black dildo, slapping the suction cup against the wall and holding her hands out. That's what you do in here? Can you fit that whole thing in you? Piper plucked it, disgusted yet intrigued by the grotesque caricature of her lover's penis. Yes, please, get me out of here, please, Helen demands. Give me your phone. I don't have my phone. Give me your phone, Piper demands. I don't have it. Piper quickly snaps pictures of her mother next to the dildo. The look of dread and fear in Helen's face and trying to hide her face. Sadly, it had all been a video recording of the entire conversation. Helen leaped for Piper, but Piper slipped out of the room, running for the backyard. Jabari pulled up behind the house, trying to keep a low profile with white men fleeing for their lives away from the carnage. Those who did see him didn't stop sprinting past the dark sedan in the shadows, seemingly unrelated to anything going on acres away.